Hi, everybody. I'm Mike, and this is Mike Tries Motorsports, the only show on YouTube where wearing a helmet is mandatory.
All right, everybody. I have the car here in the garage, finally. I had to move it around manually on the driveway with the tractor. Anyway, don't ask about that. Um, I think we're ready to tear into this thing. I was able to get, I couldn't film it. I had to do this outside, but I was able to get tap, a tap into that plug hole, and then I was able to fill the space with a spark plug saver. It's sort of an insert, a threaded insert, and then you insert it into there with some RTV sealant, and then you hammer it with this expansion tool, and it sort of expands inside the hole. And then, let's see if you can see it in there. Yeah, you might be able to see it. It's the black threads in there. Anyway, it should be permanent. I was able to vacuum or blow out much of the material that I sort of the shavings from tapping the hole. I was able to get most of that out, and I think it's probably pretty good. Before I put the plug in there, I'm probably gonna put this whole thing back together, keep those 3 plugs in, keep this one out, and try to fire the engine up. Hopefully the compression from trying to run will blow the rest and any other fragments of metal out. But I think I pretty much got everything. So I think we're ready to start on the timing belt. I had seen this decal here, and it's hard to read, but it reads 150920. So 150,920. But you might notice, though, that this is all in German. I actually think that's in kilometers. So while I was really excited at first thinking that this had a new timing belt installed at 150,000 miles, I actually think, which would have been 28,000 miles in the past, right? So that would be a healthy timing belt in that case. I actually think that what happened was this car spent the first part of its life in Germany, according to the maintenance and service records. That decal was placed on there in Germany, and then the car got imported to the United States. The odometer switched to miles, and so is the instrument cluster, but that decal remains. So I think that this car probably got to the point where it needed a new timing belt. They looked at the cost with Audi and then realized that it was probably worth, the job itself was worth almost as much as the car is, and I guess they sold the car. So their loss, my gain. I'm going to go ahead and pull the headlights out, the front bumper off, and then I think I have to unbolt the core support. These bolts here, and some of these over here, as well as some, I don't know, part of the crash bar. Let's see if I can get you in there. I'm not really sure if it's clear. Yeah, that actually might be the crash bar right there. Right, that you can see those posts there. I think that's got to be unbolted, but moved. I don't think I have to take it off. I should be able to do the timing belt job without taking the entire front clip of the car off. The important thing there is that I don't have to evacuate the air conditioner. I think there's Freon in there, or, well, R134, but you don't want to just vent that to atmosphere if you can help it. That is if there is something in it. So, yeah, I'll get to work. I'll film as much as I can. I don't have a tripod now. I'll come up with some way of doing this. And who knows, maybe we'll do a bit of a montage for you. Here we go. I went ahead and picked up a timing belt kit for it. I'm going to go ahead and put that in now, which is why we've done this whole job, so I may be repeating myself. Sorry. You'll notice that I've got the front bumper off of the car. I tried to film as much of that as I could in the sort of time lapse that you saw, and I'm going to continue with the time lapse as well. But I did want to explain what I'm about to do. I believe the service manual for the car asks you to completely remove the front lip, including the air conditioner, but I don't have a way of sucking out the Freon, or the R134 refrigerant that the air conditioner uses. So I'm following another method that I saw online. I'm going to replace the 3 bolts that hold this bar on right here. This is part of the core support structure. I'm going to replace one of the 3 bolts on each side with this bolt right here. This bolt was mounted vertically, and it held the bumper cover to the crash bar right here. I'm not sure if you can see it, if it's in frame, but this bolt is longer than the 3 bolts that currently hold the crash bar on. Basically, you thread this in a few threads, you pull the bumper support back or forward, right, towards yourself on it, and you put some vice grips on there to keep it from bumping forward. I saw this in another video on YouTube. I'll link to it in the description so you can follow along. They did a great job explaining how this whole process works. I'm hoping it's relatively straightforward. A nice thing about the way the Audi is done is that the timing belt only operates the exhaust camshaft. There's a timing chain in the back of the head here that drives the intake camshaft off of the exhaust camshaft. So it's pretty clever. I think it's going to make the timing belt change much easier because you don't have to coordinate the intake and exhaust cams to keep them from going out of phase with each other, while you're also trying to keep the whole thing in phase with the crankshaft. So I'm hoping that makes it easier than a Mazda Miata job, although I think with the Mazda Miata I probably would be done already because I don't have to disassemble the front of the car. But we'll see. We'll see how it goes, and I'll try to fill you in with any things that I learn along the way. So prepare for time lapse. Okay, so I just wanted to show you the difference between the 2 bolts that I described a few moments ago. This bolt right here is one of the bolts that holds the radiator core support on. This bolt here is the bolt that I showed you earlier that holds the bumper cover on. It drives up right through this vertical post right here. This one is significantly longer, so I can thread in completely through the threaded part of the inside of the body there on the front of the frame, and have a pretty good firm post, right? And then I'm able to slide the whole entire bumper core support forward several inches, and that should give me all the space that I need to do the timing belt job. So I'm going to go ahead and thread this one in to the top hole, and then I'll remove the other 2 bolts, just like this, from the driver's side. I've already completed the passenger side. It looks like it's going to work just fine. Helps if I push the button. I'll take this out in editing. So I'm not sure if you just saw that, but I had to drain the radiator, and I was told the fastest way to drain it is by removing the coolant temperature sensor. That is correct. Just be prepared for it to come out in a hurry. I was not prepared. It is not a pleasant tasting fluid, so I ran in and I flushed out everything. My face, my mouth, got all the coolant out. It's gonna be all right. A little bit of a disaster, but it's fine. It'll clean up. Okay, I'd like to show you all what I just did here. I did it off camera, sorry, but I wanted to make sure I had everything right. I removed these 2 bolts that secured this part to here. You can see it's moved quite a bit, as well as a 3rd bolt right here on the side. And I did the same thing. It's a mirror image on the other side of the car. I was then able, with the extended bolt that I put right here, these 2 removed, and the same on the other side here. I was able to slide this whole thing away from the from the engine, and now we have this nice cavernous space to work in. Right, so there's plenty of space to work here, I think. I have a pair of vice grips right there. You can kind of see them pinching to keep this thing on, forward along that bolt. And yeah, I think we're going to be fine now. So I think the next step is to release the tension off of this automatic serpentine belt tensioner. I'm going to replace the serpentine belt because this is absolutely a colossal pain in the butt to have to do every time, if I'm coming in here, I might as well replace the bolt. I then have to remove this timing belt cover here, which is snapped on to the valve cover. Oh, that was easy. I think there's another snap right here that's already off. I'll then remove this piece, this hose here, which I think can stretch just above it. If I do it right, I might be able to just stretch that up over. And this other hose as well. Yeah, it's good to film these things sometimes, because if you forget how something goes back together, even if you're just filming it for yourself, if you're able to go back and watch your own video, see if I can keep this lit for you, you may remind yourself how you were able to do something. So yeah, I'm going to keep working. I'm going to put you back in the time lapse. I'll let you know if I see anything else. For scale, my whole hand fits in here nicely. This is going to be a tight job, okay? I think the actual manual really does call for this entire assembly to be removed from the car. I just don't want to do that. I think this is going to be a lot easier. I want to take a moment to emphasize one of the most important tools in the garage, the label maker. And I guess coupled with it, the organizer bin. Whenever you're working on a project like this, you are bound to pick up a few nuts and bolts and fasteners and fittings and connectors here and there as you're going along the project. And it's good to have them organized. Label them well, keep them organized, and don't be afraid to invest in a bin or 2 like this, because trying to find out where those last bolts go can sure be a bear. And an added benefit, if you have let's say a label here that says bumper cover vents, that might be something that I might forget to install later on. And if I see that I have these things, oh yeah, it helps me remember how to put the project back together. So whenever you're going this far into a project and you're doing more than just changing spark plugs, it really does pay to have proper equipment on hand. And as well, a set of fresh batteries when necessary. All right, so we have got the timing belt cover completely off, and you can see right down here, right where my finger is now casting a shadow, there's a 12-point bolt that holds that fastens to the crankshaft. That's the crankshaft down there. Well, the crankshaft pulley, the timing belt. The cover comes off in 3 pieces. There's this plastic upper cover here, and there are these 2 metal pieces that sort of interface with each other, kind of like this. I mean, there's one way it goes together. Anyway, this goes around this goes behind the harmonic balancer. This is sort of the mid piece, and that's the upper part of the timing belt cover that I removed quite a bit earlier. So yeah, I guess there's nothing to it but to start removing some of these components. I'm sure there's an order to it. Before I do that, I need to set top dead center. And in order to do that effectively, you set top dead center on piston cylinder number 1, which is the one closest to me, right back here. I could take a screwdriver or something that fits down inside the hole. Now, hey, it would have been really convenient if I had fixed this hole, if I had put the plug in this hole to repair the spark plug damage that I had done after I had done this, because I could have stuck a much larger object like this big giant screwdriver down there, right? Because I opened up the hole and rebored it to a larger diameter so I could insert a metal, a steel sleeve for my spark plugs to interface with. Yeah, I shouldn't have installed that sleeve. Anyway, that's beside the point. I'll stick something down there. It could be a coat hanger or something. And then I'll get a 12-point socket on the crank nose down there, and I'll turn it until I'll have 2 indications that we're at top dead center. First will be that the whatever I put down in the cylinder here will rise up and then stop. And as it's rising up and stopping, you can see this mark right here on the valve cover. This mark will interface with a mark that I cannot identify easily on the timing gear here. But somewhere on this timing gear will be a tooth that should line up perfectly with this. It'll have a dot or something on it. And that's how I'll know I'll be at top dead center here, and I'll be at top dead center on the cam. And as I was saying earlier, you see that this car only has, it's a dual cam motor. This is the intake side of the engine. I think this is pretty cool. This is the intake side of the engine. This is exhaust. The timing belt only drives the exhaust cam. So I only have to worry about interfacing this cam to that dot and having the cylinder top dead center. That's it. There's nothing else to worry about. With an engine like the Mazda Miata, where it's also a dual cam engine, it has 2 cam gears like this right on the front. And the timing belt drives both cam gears. And that's fine until you realize you slip the belt off and one of the cam gears goes out of alignment. Now there are timing marks, 2 timing marks for a Mazda Miata if you ever do this, at least the NA Miata is the first generation. There are 2 timing marks on the engine that meet up with, I think it's something like that, or maybe it's 1 on the engine and there are 2 on the cam gears, and each cam gear sort of lines up with each other. There's like a timing mark here and one over here on the other cam gear. Anyway, this is a lot easier. Just make sure that lines up with that, and the thing in the back of the valve cover, the valve train, there's actually a chain back there. That'll take care of the rest for me. So, oh, and always work neat. Put all of your tools on top of your engine. And maybe not a best practice here. Anyway, yeah, so we'll continue with the time lapse. I think I am going to replace the serpentine belt, as I think I said earlier. I might also replace the serpentine belt tensioner. I've seen those explode before on cars, like an F-150 or something. They pop out and then you don't have a serpentine belt. And to take this whole car apart every time I need to work on that would just be, I don't know if it would be worth it. I'll inspect that one, I'll see what condition it looks like it's in, and if it looks like it needs to be replaced, I might do it. This engine's going to spend basically the rest of its life, operating at high power settings at high RPMs. So, I guess there's nothing more to it than to do it. I'm going to try to get this belt off before stopping for tonight, and then I'll probably pick up sometime tomorrow or later this week. You won't know the difference though, because I'm just going to cut here or cut the time lapse, and I'll just start a new time lapse. Okay, I think I've reached a stopping point for tonight. I started doing something that I shouldn't have done, and I was using the wrong tool for the wrong job because I was getting tired and I just wanted to get it done. So what I think I'm going to do is stop filming tonight. I'm tired. I'm going to make sure I get the right tools for the job tomorrow. I need to pick up a 12-point socket for the crank bolt right, for the bolt that drives the timing belt system. I don't need to remove the bolt, but I need to turn it so that I can turn the engine over accurately so that I can reach top dead center. So I'm going to do that. I'm going to get those tools. I'm also going to get the serpentine belt and any other things that I think have to go back on the car. And I'll pick up with this maybe tomorrow. You'll just see it as the next clip in the series, but I'll be dressed differently, obviously. So yeah, I'm going to keep cleaning up, and we'll leave it there. All right, everyone, here we are. We're back after all these time-lapse segments. We've installed a new timing belt, water pump, associated pulleys. We've also put a new serpentine belt on because it's very difficult to get to the serpentine belt. All of this work was required just to get to that belt anyway. So might as well replace it while we're in there, even though it showed no cracks and no wear. I also had to replace an idler pulley and some other components from the serpentine belt. As you can see now, we also have the radiator core support reinstalled. The front bumper is pretty much completed. I have a few segments down here to clean up, just the trim and a couple bolts that go inside the trim, the vents on the front bumper. And that should complete this job. Now, I still would like to clean this thing up. This is the valve cover. I have a new gasket for the valve cover that seals around the circumference of the gasket of the valve cover, as well as around the 4 spark plug holes. Hello. The issue that started all of this, really, was that oil was leaking past the central part of the gasket. It was actually 2 components, and it was going into the spark plug holes and filling them up with oil. The oil was coming from the valve train. So I have a new gasket on there now. I believe I need to use some sealant around some of the corners, but I'm not sure. I need to do a little research on that. And then I should be able to put this on, torque it to spec, try to find all the vacuum, and I'm not even sure what all these hoses are for, but I need to find all of the hoses and get them all connected. And this should be ready to go. I'll have to fill it up with coolant and bleed the coolant system, if that's something that this car requires. Some cars automatically bleed. It looks like this one might. And then we should be finished. So I'm going to put you back in time lapse and see if we can get this job done tonight.
I kind of finished up the job here. I got the belts back on. You can see that the bumper is installed and the car is pretty much finished up. I put the tires back on it, started without the number 1 spark plug installed, and tried to blow out as much debris as possible. It was super late and I wanted to get finished up, so I didn't record any of it, but you didn't miss much. My first attempt to start it didn't work out anyway. The battery was dead. And then the engine ran horribly at first, but things eventually cleared up. I was able to drive it around my neighborhood, in fact, a bit that night, and I even started driving it a bit more frequently as time went on. I even got the car inspected. I grew more comfortable with driving it. I changed the oil, and I even took it to an autocross event. This was an event with the SCCA where they rent a parking lot, set up a slalom with cones, and then race through those cones. You'll see more of that in the next episode, though. Until then, thanks for watching, and please subscribe if you're interested in what we're doing here. I'm Mike, and this has been Mike Tries Motorsports. Keep it shiny side up, and I'll see you in the next one.